You're closer than you think. The quiet signs that your life is already changing. By David Russo. What if the biggest breakthroughs of your life has already begun, but you've mistaken it for uncertainty? Most people expect transformation to arrive with a dramatic moment. In reality, the greatest changes begin in silence, hidden beneath ordinary days. The signs are there. The question is, will you recognize them before they change everything? Introduction. It's already in motion. Most people believe change arrives with a dramatic moment, a breakthrough, a phone call, a life-changing opportunity. But the biggest transformations rarely announce themselves. They begin quietly, almost invisibly, while everything appears ordinary. If you felt restless, uncertain, or like something is shifting beneath the surface, you may not be falling behind. You may be standing at the edge of a new chapter without realizing it. This audiobook explores the subtle signs that often appear before meaningful change takes shape, and why you may already be much closer than you think. Chapter 1. The Invisible Beginning. The greatest transformations in life rarely begin with applause, certainty, or visible success. They begin quietly in places no one else can see. Before a tree breaks through the surface, its roots spend months growing beneath the ground. Before an athlete stands on a podium, countless unseen hours have been spent practicing in empty gyms. Human change follows the same pattern. The most important part of your journey is often invisible at first, which is why so many people abandon it before it has a chance to reveal itself. This hidden beginning usually feels confusing rather than exciting. You may notice that your old routines no longer satisfy you. Conversations that once energized you now leave you feeling empty. Or goals you chased for years suddenly lose their appeal. At first, this can feel like something is wrong. In reality, it may be one of the healthiest signs of growth. Your inner world is reorganizing itself before your outer world has had time to catch up. Just because you cannot yet see the destination doesn't mean you aren't already walking toward it. Every meaningful change starts with a shift in awareness. Before your circumstances improve, your perspective begins to evolve. You start asking different questions. You become more intentional about how you spend your time, who you surround yourself with, and what truly deserves your energy. These are not small adjustments. They are the foundation upon which an entirely new life is built. Long before the world notices you've changed, the transformation has already begun within you. And that invisible beginning may be the most important stage of all. Chapter 2. When your old life no longer fits. One of the clearest signs that your life is changing is also one of the most uncomfortable, the feeling that your old life no longer fits. The routines that once brought comfort begin to feel repetitive. Conversations that used to excite you now seem predictable. Even familiar places can leave you with a quiet sense that you've outgrown something you can't quite explain. Many people mistake this feeling for dissatisfaction or failure, when in reality it is often evidence that they are evolving beyond the person they used to be. Growth has a way of making the familiar feel unfamiliar. As your values change, your priorities naturally shift with them. You begin saying no to opportunities that once seemed irresistible and yes to experiences that align more closely with the person you're becoming. This transition can be lonely because not everyone around you is changing at the same pace. Some relationships deepen while others slowly fade, not because anyone has done something wrong, but because people sometimes grow in different directions. Letting go of what no longer reflects who you are is not a loss. It is a part of making room for what comes next. The temptation during this season is to force yourself back into the life that once felt comfortable. But growth rarely allows you to return unchanged. Just as a butterfly cannot become a caterpillar again, you cannot unknow what you've learned or unsee what you've discovered about yourself. The discomfort you feel is not proof that you're on the wrong path. It is often confirmation that your future is asking you to leave behind an identity that has fulfilled its purpose. What feels like an ending today may actually be the doorway to the most authentic version of yourself you've ever known. Chapter 3: The Small Choices That Change Everything. It is easy to believe that life changes because of one extraordinary decision, a new career, a move across the country, or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. While those moments can certainly matter, they are usually the result of hundreds of smaller choices made long before anyone notices. A healthy life is built one meal at a time. Financial security grows one wise decision after another. Strong relationships are shaped by countless conversations, acts of kindness, and moments of patience. The direction of your life is rarely determined by a single leap. More often, it is quietly guided by the habits you repeat every day. Small choices possess a remarkable kind of power because they often go unnoticed. Reading 10 pages of a book doesn't seem life-changing. Going for a 20-minute walk feels ordinary. Waking up a little earlier, putting your phone away during dinner, saving a few dollars, or taking 5 minutes to reflect before bed can all seem insignificant on their own. Yet these seemingly minor actions accumulate over weeks, months, and years, like tiny streams feeding a mighty river. They gather strength until they create a future that once seemed impossible. The extraordinary is often nothing more than the ordinary repeated with intention. The challenge is that our minds crave immediate results. We want to see dramatic progress after a single effort, but life rarely works that way. Nature teaches a different lesson. Seasons change gradually. Mountains are shaped over centuries. A seed does not become a towering tree overnight. Your own transformation follows the same timeless rhythm. Every thoughtful decision, every disciplined action, and every moment you choose growth over comfort becomes another brick in the foundation of the life you are creating. One day, you'll look back and realize that what appeared to be small choices were actually the quiet architects of your greatest transformation. Chapter 4: Why Uncertainty is Often a Bridge. There comes a season in almost every meaningful journey when certainty disappears before clarity arrives. It can feel as though you've left the shore of your old life, yet the new one hasn't come into view. This in-between space is uncomfortable because the human mind naturally seeks predictability. We want to know exactly where we are going, how long it will take, and whether our efforts will succeed. But transformation rarely provides those answers in advance. Instead, it asks us to keep moving forward even when the path is hidden by fog. History is filled with people who experienced this uncertain middle ground before reaching their greatest accomplishments. They questioned themselves, faced unexpected setbacks, and wondered whether they were making the right decisions. What separated them from those who gave up was not superior talent or perfect confidence. It was their willingness to continue despite not having all the answers. Uncertainty was not proof they were lost. It was evidence they were traveling beyond the boundaries of what was familiar. Every new chapter begins as unfamiliar territory. Perhaps the greatest mistake we make is believing that uncertainty is the opposite of progress. In reality, uncertainty often accompanies growth because you cannot become someone new while remaining completely comfortable. Every bridge connects two places, yet while standing on it, you belong fully to neither side. That is exactly where many life changing moments begin. If you find yourself questioning what comes next, remember that bridges are not destinations, they are passages. The confusion you feel today may simply mean you are crossing from the person you once were to the person you are meant to become. Chapter 5. The Opportunities Hidden in Plain Sight. One of life's greatest paradoxes is that opportunity rarely looks the way we imagine it will. We expect it to arrive wrapped in certainty, excitement, and obvious promise. Instead, it often appears disguised as extra responsibility, an unexpected setback, an inconvenient interruption, or a problem that demands our attention. Because we are searching for dramatic moments, we overlook the quiet invitations that have the power to redirect our lives. The opportunity was never absent. It simply arrived wearing clothes we didn't recognize. Think about how many turning points begin as ordinary days. A casual conversation introduces you to someone who changes your career. A book picked up on a whim offers an idea that reshapes your thinking. A disappointing rejection pushes you toward a path that ultimately proves far better than the one you lost. Even failure has a curious way of revealing strengths that success never asks us to develop. Looking back, these moments often seem perfectly connected, but while living through them, they can feel random or even unfair. Life's greatest openings frequently hide inside circumstances we would never have chosen. The people who experience meaningful breakthroughs are not necessarily luckier than everyone else. More often, they have trained themselves to remain curious instead of discouraged. They ask, "What is this moment trying to teach me?" instead of immediately asking, "Why is this happening to me?" That single shift in perspective changes everything. Every inconvenience carries the possibility of a lesson. Every challenge contains the seed of a new skill. Every unexpected detour has the potential to reveal a road you never would have discovered otherwise. Sometimes the opportunity you've been waiting for isn't waiting somewhere else. It's quietly standing in front of you, disguised as the very thing you were hoping to avoid. Chapter 6. Becoming the person your future requires. Success is often imagined as something we achieve, but in reality, it is just as much about who we become. The future you hope for has certain demands. It asks for greater patience, stronger discipline, clearer thinking, deeper resilience, and the willingness to keep learning even after you've made mistakes. Before life entrusts you with greater opportunities, it often begins shaping your character to carry them. This process is rarely dramatic. It happens through the ordinary decisions you make when no one is watching and no one is applauding. Every day presents small opportunities to become the person your future needs. Choosing to keep your word when it would be easier to make excuses. Responding with calm instead of anger. Continuing to learn when others have stopped growing. Showing kindness without expecting recognition. These moments may seem insignificant, yet they are quietly building habits that define your identity. Over time, your habits become your character, and your character becomes the foundation upon which your future is built. Long before success becomes visible, the person capable of sustaining it is already taking shape. Many people spend years waiting for confidence before they act, But confidence is usually the result of action, not the prerequisite for it. Each time you do something difficult, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you believed. With every challenge you overcome, your perspective expands and your resilience deepens. Eventually, you realize that the greatest transformation wasn't the achievement itself. It was the person you became while pursuing it. The future you've been hoping for isn't asking you to become someone else. It's inviting you to fully develop the strengths that have been quietly growing within you all along. Chapter 7. The Courage to Let Go. Every new beginning requires an ending. It is impossible to fill a cup that is already overflowing, and it is just as difficult to embrace a new life while clinging tightly to the old one. Yet, letting go is one of the hardest lessons we ever face. We hold on to familiar routines because they feel safe. We keep beliefs that no longer serve us because they are comfortable. We remain attached to identities we have outgrown because they once defined who we were. But growth has a quiet way of asking us a simple question. What are you still carrying that your future no longer needs? Letting go is not about forgetting the past or pretending it never mattered. The experiences that shaped you, both joyful and painful, will always be part of your story. The goal is not to erase them, but to release their control over your present. Perhaps you've been carrying the weight of an old disappointment, a mistake you can't forgive yourself for, or someone else's expectations about the life you should live. These burdens consume energy that could be invested in creating something new. When you loosen your grip on what no longer serves you, you create space for fresh possibilities to enter your life. The remarkable thing about letting go is that it often feels like loss in the moment, but freedom in hindsight. You may grieve the familiar even as you move towards something better. That is a natural part of transformation. Every season in nature eventually releases what it no longer needs. Trees let go of their leaves, not because they are dying, but because they are preparing for new growth. Your life follows the same rhythm. Sometimes the bravest step you can take is not adding something new, but having the courage to release what has already fulfilled its purpose. In doing so, you make room for the person you are becoming and for the life that has been quietly waiting for you all along. Chapter 8. The Quiet Signs You Are Already Growing. Growth is rarely announced with fanfare. More often, it reveals itself through subtle changes that are easy to overlook while you're living them. Perhaps you recover from disappointment more quickly than you once did. Maybe you no longer react to criticism with the same intensity, or you find yourself pausing before responding instead of speaking impulsively. These moments may not seem extraordinary, but they are powerful evidence that something within you has changed. Real growth is measured less by what happens around you and more by how you respond to what happens. Another quiet sign of progress is the way your attention begins to shift. You spend less time comparing your life to others and more time improving your own. You become more selective about where you invest your energy, choosing peace over unnecessary conflict and purpose over constant distraction. You begin asking deeper questions, seeking understanding rather than approval. While the outside world may look much the same, your inner landscape is becoming steadier, wiser, and more resilient. These invisible victories often matter far more than the achievements that receive public recognition. Perhaps the greatest sign that you're growing is that your definition of success begins to change. You no longer measure your worth solely by accomplishments, possessions, or the opinions of others. Instead, You recognize success and your ability to remain hopeful during uncertainty, to extend kindness even when it isn't returned, and to continue moving forward despite setbacks. These qualities cannot be purchased or borrowed. They are earned through experience. One day, you'll realize that the person you were hoping to become didn't appear overnight. They emerged quietly, one lesson, one choice, and one ordinary day at a time. Chapter 9. Why Progress Feels So Slow. If you've ever planted a seed, you know that nothing seems to happen for a long time. You water the soil, protect it from the elements, and wait. Day after day, the surface appears unchanged. Yet beneath the ground, an extraordinary process is unfolding. Roots are spreading, drawing strength, and preparing for the moment when new life finally breaks into view. Personal growth follows the same pattern. Much of your progress happens beneath the surface, hidden from both the world and even from yourself, because you cannot see it. You may mistakenly believe that nothing is changing. Our minds are naturally drawn to dramatic milestones, making it easier to overlook gradual improvement. We notice the person who suddenly succeeds, but we rarely see the years of preparation that made that success possible. We celebrate the finished masterpiece without remembering the countless sketches that came before it. The same is true in our own lives. Small improvements become so familiar that we forget how far we've come. The fears that once controlled us lose their grip so gradually that we hardly notice. The habits that once felt impossible become second nature. Transformation is difficult to recognize while you're living through it because you experience it one ordinary day at a time. This is why hindsight can feel so powerful. Looking back, the scattered moments of your life begin to form a clear picture. The setbacks that seem meaningless become valuable lessons. The delays that once frustrated you reveal themselves as periods of preparation. The struggles you wished would end sooner become the very experiences that strengthened your character. Progress often feels slow because you're standing too close to the painting to see the image. But with enough time and perspective, you'll recognize that every small effort, every difficult season, and every quiet decision was moving you forward. The journey may have felt invisible, but it was never standing still. Chapter 10. The Power of Staying the Course. There is a quiet strength in continuing when nothing seems to be happening. Anyone can stay motivated when progress is obvious and rewards are immediate. The true test of commitment comes during the ordinary days, the days when the excitement has faded, the results have yet to appear, and every step forward feels almost indistinguishable from the last. These are the moments that shape your future far more than the occasional burst of inspiration. Success is rarely won by those who move the fastest. It is most often earned by those who simply refuse to stop. The world celebrates dramatic breakthroughs, but breakthroughs are usually the visible result of invisible consistency. A musician becomes exceptional by practicing scales long after the applause has ended. An author finishes a book one page at a time. A gardener tends the soil even when there are no flowers in bloom. In every area of life, extraordinary outcomes are built upon ordinary faithfulness. Every time you choose to continue instead of quit, you strengthen a part of yourself that cannot be developed any other way. Persistence is more than a habit. It is a declaration that your vision matters more than your temporary emotions. One day, you will look back and realize that the days you considered uneventful were actually the most important. They were the days your character deepened, your discipline matured, and your future quietly took shape. The progress may have been too gradual to notice, but it was no less real. Like a river carving through stone, steady effort accomplishes what force alone cannot. If you feel tempted to give up because nothing seems to be changing, remember this. The most meaningful transformations are often taking place during the seasons when everything appears ordinary. Stay the course. The life you're building is growing stronger with every step you continue to take. Chapter 11. When everything finally starts connecting. There comes a moment in many journeys when what once seemed like unrelated experiences suddenly begin to make sense. The setbacks, the delays, the unexpected detours, and the quiet seasons of preparation no longer appear random. Instead, they fit together like pieces of a puzzle that could only be understood once enough time had passed. Looking back, you realize that every challenge taught you a skill, every disappointment strengthened your character, and every closed door redirected you toward one that was better suited for the person you were becoming. What once felt like chaos now reveals itself as preparation. This is one of life's most remarkable patterns. The conversation that inspired a new idea, the book you almost didn't read, the opportunity you nearly ignored, and even the mistakes you wished you could erase all become part of a larger story. None of them seemed particularly significant in the moment, yet together they formed the foundation for a breakthrough you never could have predicted. The future often gathers its building materials long before it begins construction. What feels disconnected today may one day become the very reason your life unfolds the way it does. When everything starts connecting, it can feel as though life has suddenly accelerated. Opportunities appear where there were once obstacles. Confidence replaces hesitation because you can finally see the value of everything you've endured. But the truth is that the breakthrough did not begin the day your circumstances changed. It began months or even years earlier when you chose to keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing during seasons when nothing seemed to be happening. The visible success is simply the final chapter of a story that has been quietly unfolding all along. What appears to others as overnight success is often the result of years of invisible preparation finally revealing itself. Chapter 12. You're closer than you think. If there is one truth that runs through every chapter of this journey, it is this. Transformation is almost always underway long before it becomes visible. The person you are becoming is shaped by countless quiet moments. Moments of choosing hope over fear, discipline over comfort, patience over frustration, and growth over familiarity. These decisions may seem ordinary when viewed one at a time, but together they create a life that is anything but ordinary. Every small step has been carrying you forward, even when it felt as though you were standing still. Perhaps you've been measuring your progress by the wrong standard. Maybe you've been waiting for a dramatic sign, a life-changing opportunity, or a single breakthrough that would prove all your efforts were worthwhile. But real transformation rarely announces itself with fireworks. It reveals itself gradually through a stronger mindset, deeper wisdom, greater resilience, and a quiet confidence that wasn't there before. The external changes you're hoping that arrives only after these invisible victories have already taken place. Your future has been taking shape from the inside out all along. So if you're wondering whether your efforts matter, whether the long days of persistence are leading anywhere, or whether you're making more progress than you realize, remember this. Every season has its purpose. The roots must grow before the tree can reach the sky. The dawn begins while the world is still dark. The greatest stories are written one page at a time. Your life is no different. Trust the process that is unfolding. Continue becoming the person your future requires, and keep taking the next faithful step. You are not waiting for your life to begin. You are living the beginning of the life you've been working toward all along. You are closer than you think. Conclusion: it's happening. Real change rarely begins on the day the world notices. It begins the moment your thinking starts to shift. Your habits begin to change, and you quietly decide that you will no longer settle for the version of yourself that has already run its course. Long before your circumstances transform, your character does. Long before success becomes visible, resilience is being built. Long before opportunity arrives, preparation is already underway. The greatest chapters of your life are not written in isolated moments of inspiration, but in the ordinary decisions you make every single day. As you reflect on everything we've explored together, remember that uncertainty is not always a sign to turn back. Sometimes it is proof that you are stepping into unfamiliar territory because you are growing beyond the limits of your old life. The discomfort you felt, the patience you've been forced to develop, the lessons you've learned through setbacks, and the courage you've shown in continuing forward have not been wasted. They have been quietly shaping a future that is stronger, wiser, and more meaningful than you could have imagined when this journey began. So as you leave this audiobook, carry one simple truth with you. Don't underestimate the power of what seems small. The quiet decisions you make today become tomorrow's defining moments. The seeds you plant now will one day become the shade beneath which others find hope. Keep learning, keep growing, keep trusting the process, even when you cannot yet see the results. One day, you'll look back and realize that the breakthrough you were waiting for had already begun long before you recognized it. It wasn't delayed. It wasn't lost. It was simply growing beneath the surface. Because the future isn't built in one extraordinary moment. It's built in ordinary moments, repeated with purpose. And if you've been wondering whether your efforts matter, whether your life is changing, or whether you're closer than you think, the answer is yes. It's already happening.